Scientific research is the way to control the world. So you had this tremendous centralization of scientific research funded by the federal government, fed through both universities directly, as we now see when this process is being reversed under Trump, and through the big research labs of the industries, both self-funded and funded by government, Bell Labs, IBM Labs, and so on. So, of course, as you had more and more centralization of funding, to a certain extent, you had the potential for the development of orthodoxies. But what was fighting that was two things. One was industry and government really wanted technological products out of this. They wanted things that worked. And two was, as the post-war boom developed, the economy was rapidly developing. There was enough money for research. There wasn't much competition. You got what you needed. In physics, all you had to do was say, the Soviet Union is developing this new welder. Do you want us to be behind in the welding race? No, here, have $100 million. And that's how it went. So when you don't have the threat of being cut off from research, and we still haven't had the threat of the unorthodox going to being burned at the stake, then orthodoxy wasn't such a big thing. When you had the reversal, when you had the slowing of economic growth starting in the 70s, and especially when you had the contraction of funding for science after the end of the Cold War, when in the United States funding for physics was rapidly cut by 40 to 50%, then in areas that were highly centralized, you started to get sharp competition for funding. And if you have those two ingredients, centralization of funding and inadequate funding, then orthodoxy is almost a natural product.
It's like consolidation.
It's easier to get funding if you're doing something that everybody knows is right. In cosmology, that went much more quickly. Again, it was the canary in the mine shaft because cosmology was not funded by industry, who thought that it was far, far too down the line for any real effects. And the government funding was, in most countries, just two committees. In the United States, it was a committee in NASA and a committee in NSF, the National Science Foundation. And of course, these committees were dominated by theorists who had made their careers developing the Big Bang. So they weren't going to fund things that destroyed their careers. So what I'm saying is, by contrast, for example, even though there were orthodoxies in medical science, the fact that medical science the funding was still preserved up until the present year because it was the seed money for the pharmaceutical companies. The government would pay for the universities to do the basic research, and then the pharmaceutical companies would come along and say, thank you very much, we'll carry on from here, and they would make tremendous profits.
Our videos come out of LPPFusion's research in fusion energy, which will power a future with abundance for all, with a clean, sustainable economy and environment. Goods, housing, and infrastructure would be extremely affordable once fusion kicks in. Fusion energy is the key to an advanced future. Support fusion research. The link's in the description, and thanks.